I don't know the exact numbers, but I don't know what percent of the NBA is made up of black men. 70 something percent probably.
Yeah,
right?
the
Over
majority,
70%.
big time.
Yeah. So black men are about 6% of the US population, yet they make up 70 something percent of the NBA, let's say. Nobody in their right mind, if someone were to come out and say that the NBA is racist against white people and racist against Jews and racist against Asians and racist against, they'd be laughed out the room. But that exact same logic people use in other things to make claims about racism or claims about sexism. Oh, like, look at the corporate boardrooms, right? It's only 20% female and 80% male. Therefore, this must be sexism. And it's just such a low resolution, goofy way of thinking. There's millions of different reasons why people end up in all sorts of different situations. You can see this even in the same family. Take 4 or 5 kids raised in the same household by the same parents. They have different outcomes. They pursue different jobs. They end up with different incomes. Their lives look different. They behave differently. Why? Because people have freedom of choice. People have different talents. People have different interests. And that is completely normal. So I think there's a lot of individual and collective mental illness that is essentially being caused and being exacerbated by people trying to sort of juggle all of these illogical ideas in their brains simultaneously on all of these different topics, instead of just being like, oh, okay, this is just how humanity is. This is how life is. Let me go live my life and try to flourish.
When you said that humanity peaked in the 90s and like the early 2000s, the first thought, and then you kind of alluded to it, the first thought that I had was when the iPhone came out, like right before 2010, I forget what year specifically, that's when things started to shift. Was like this access and, the smartphone, social media, this access to, if we can be honest, here's what's really interesting about the double-edged sword of social media. I love that the playing field has been leveled for voices, right? Like you wouldn't have a voice really. I wouldn't have a voice if it wasn't for the power of social media. Well, you're smarter than me, so you probably figured out something else, maybe hook up a satellite or something. But for the rest of us, social media was a great way for the common person to begin. You didn't have to go through all the gatekeepers of Hollywood or mainstream news or whatever. The backside weakness of that is everybody has a platform. And now you see what I'm saying? Like now we're dealing with the backside, the double-edged sword of that. I would ask you, like, genuinely, do you think that social media, despite what we're seeing right now happen with humanity, do you think it's going to be a net positive for humanity, or is it a net negative?
It's too early to call it. Right now, it's a net negative, I believe. And I don't think it's a net negative because of the fault of the social media companies. Mm-hmm. I just think you've introduced a brand new tool to billions of people, and most people don't know how to use it well. So even though we've now had the combination of smartphones and social media, I would say has been relatively ubiquitous since maybe 2011, 2012, mm-hmm. where most people have both a smartphone and some social media accounts. And we're still really early in the experiment. There are people who are more conscious and more thoughtful and more disciplined, who are very careful about how they use it and who make sure that they don't get, just caught up for 8 hours doom scrolling and doing those type of behaviors or getting addicted. So at the moment, it's only a small percentage of people who I would say use social media well. At the same time, I think there's increased awareness of the ramifications of all of this for the people who like studies and data. You're seeing how it's impacting mm-hmm. teenage depression rates and how it's impacting mm-hmm. anxiety and people's self-perception and so on. And so sometimes an experiment takes a while for it to run. So we still don't know. If someone were to say, what are the long-term repercussions of various types of social media use? We still probably don't have enough data